All right. So again, I just want to welcome everybody. Again, this is an AMA. If anybody has any questions, just request to be a speaker, and I'll bring you up to ask your questions as they come. Gadam, to start off, I'm sure there's going to be a couple people on here who aren't aware of what you're doing exactly with Stator, HBAR liquid staking, and HBARX. Could you give us a quick overview to start off?
Sure. Let me start off with the elevator pitch on Stader itself. So Stader is probably the only multi-product, multi-chain staking platform out there. So Stader was formed with the core belief that, token holders come in all sort of shapes and sizes, from your average retail token holder to large institutions. And we need to really create customized or tailored products for each segment for staking, right? And so hence we sort of built this technology backbone for staking smart contracts, which is very Lego-like. And we kind of quickly put together these pieces to launch products on staking across multiple chains, right? So coming to Hedera was our second network that we went live on. Our solution went, beta live on 8th April, and we went live without caps on 12th. It's been a fantastic experience working with the community. We have more than 500 million HBAR staked with us. Our solution is a liquid staking solution, where essentially you stake HBAR with us and you get back a synthetic token called HBARX, which represents your portion of the stake pool. That synthetic token grows in value as rewards get accrued. And you can always, go to our app and check what one HBARX is worth in terms of HBAR, right? The reason why we went with the liquid token was also because, we wanted to, in conjunction with the HBAR Foundation, kickstart DeFi on Hedera. And this is going to be one of the, key infrastructure backbones of DeFi, having a liquid staking token. Because as DEXs come online and as lending protocols come online, you'll be able to use this liquid staking token across those protocols as well in order to gain yield or to kind of build trading strategies. So that's what we're building on Hedera, and a little quick introduction about Stader.
Very good. And what is HBARX worth in terms of HBAR right now? What's that exchange rate?
Yeah, I think that exchange rate is about 0.05 something. I don't remember exactly. So every day we add rewards to the pool, and the exchange rate goes up by a little bit, and that's how the sort of rewards are accrued to stakers.
Yeah, understood. And, we'll go through questions until people start to request to be a speaker so we can bring them up for their questions. I'm going to go through some questions we got beforehand on Twitter and in Telegram. One of the things, and I guess I'll probably address this, is why are we trying to increase total value locked anyway? And as you mentioned, Stader HBAR staking is about a lot more than that. It's about utility in the DeFi space. But increasing TVL acts similar, but in a decentralized way to a central bank increasing interest rates. It soaks up liquidity, which in some cases can be beneficial in a fiat or, in this case, a crypto economy. It adds stability, things like that. But I know TVL gets thrown out a lot. Total value locked, all those kind of things. And I just wanted to address that right off the bat. But how's the development going, Gadam, HBAR staking version 2? And explain what that is and when it's coming.
Yeah, sure. So just to sort of add to your point, right? So TVL is also important to kind of gauge the health of the DeFi ecosystem, right? So for example, right now, if a developer or a protocol looks at HBARX, right, and sees 500 million worth of HBAR locked into a liquid staking token, now they are clearly now incentivized to build on Hedera, right? Because there is this token that has demonstrated that, DeFi on Hedera, the community has an appetite for it, right? So it's important to kind of keep on growing that to make sure that there is other developers are attracted to the ecosystem, because ultimately we are kind of as a network and a community competing with talent with other networks, right? So more and more people come and build here will be better for the community and the network as a whole. So just wanted to add that. Now I'll go on to the HBAR staking solution that we had. So we launched V1 in April, like I said. V1 was stake only, and we did not have the unstake and withdrawal functionalities. We specifically split the product because we wanted to quickly get HBAR holders the opportunity to earn rewards. Otherwise, the whole thing would have probably been delayed by a month or and a half, right? So once we did that, that stabilized. We were also very confident. The community had a great response. We started working on V2. V2 is essentially completing the product suite for liquid staking by adding functionalities for unstaking and withdrawing your HBAR by giving us HBARX, which we will then burn, right? So it's the reverse of staking essentially. In terms of where we are, so we've made swift progress. The code base has been frozen for now, like semi-frozen. It's in the first stages of audit. It's also undergoing beta test. Like the entire thing, like the front end, etc. Everything is ready. The first version. But testing is going on, and as well as security audits are going on, which are very, very important to us. We don't want to launch anything without a security audit, a thorough security audit. So hopefully in the coming few weeks, those things will be done, and we'll be able to launch the V2 product to kind of complete the set of functionalities that a liquid staking token or solution will offer to users.
Okay, so we're on track to get that by July.
Yeah, hopefully, look, touchwood, we want to make sure that you guys get it in June. But again, these things, if something comes up in testing, so we have a little bit of, slack there. So we are very, very confident that, by the start of July for sure, that we'll have it, but we'll obviously try and get it to users as soon as we can.
All right, understood. So, of course, anybody who wants to ask any questions, again, go ahead and request to be a speaker, and I'll bring you on up. But in the meantime, probably one of the biggest news stories over the past couple of weeks in the crypto space has been the issues with Terra Luna. What are the impacts to Stator following the Terra Luna crash?
Yeah, sure. So folks who might not have a full context, I'll just explain our history. All right. So essentially, we started off with our first solution on Terra. That was the end of November, and we sort of did our proof of market in terms of the approach of these Lego-like blocks that I was talking about on Terra. At the height, we had about $1 billion in TVL on Terra before, of course, like you all know, like the house came crashing down a little bit, right? Just right off the bat, I think we were always going to be a multi-chain platform. Like we believe in a multi-chain sort of future. And we were, like I said, even before the crash, we were live on 3 other networks. Hedera was our second. Then we were live on Polygon, and then we were also live on Phantom. Right. So because we are sort of business strategy already had multi-chain kind of built in. The impact wasn't that much. So I'll talk about impact in terms of financials, team, and impact on other solutions, right? So in terms of financials, look, we are pretty conservative. We know at the end of the day we are not developers. We are developers. We are not traders or investors, right? So essentially, most of our treasury, and we had raised a big round in January, which will hopefully see us through to all of our expansion plans. So most of our treasury was in like actual dollars because our liabilities to people and their salaries are also in actual dollars. We had certain amount of exposure due to LP pools and stuff like that, but nothing major. Just to put everyone at ease, I think we have like about a decade worth of runway with us to support the entire organization. So we've been pretty conservative there. Not sure if it's a right or wrong thing, but like we were very clear that we are builders, we are not investors, so we won't take chances with our treasury. So that's one. Two, in terms of the teams, the way the org is defined is that financially and from a team perspective, there are sort of ring fences and Chinese walls across teams. Right, of course, there is sharing of information, but in the sense that there are people who are dedicatedly working on the Hedera solution only at the level of the CTO, the CEO, and maybe at my level to a certain extent. We give inputs on other chains, but everybody who you see in terms of marketing, designing, core smart contract development, all of the content. Right, all of the front end development, they're all dedicated to the Hedera solution, and hence there is absolutely no impact there. And in fact, we've probably accelerated our push towards V2 even during this time. Right? So in terms of what changes on Hedera, nothing. In terms of the broader Stader situation. There is a little bit of impact, but nothing to worry about. Right, we have a lot of runway. Of course, the team that was working on Terra will probably get reassigned on other blockchains that we were trying to going to go on. So no real negative impact on the solution on Hedera.
Okay, understood. And of course, you're expanding, you're going to be adding additional chains, but it also frees up developer talent to be able to work on the Hedera solutions as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So I think it's not just developer talent, but also like the non-tech side of things, the content creation side of things, because one thing that we have learned and probably can improve on is, just educating the community better in terms of how the math works, in terms of why we do things, right? And of course, we try and do that, but I think we can do those things better so that those resources, get reallocated and we can move faster. And, one of the reasons why we believe that V2 will be able to launch in June is because of exactly that.
Yeah, understand. You've moved up your timeline a little bit. I know originally version 2 was going to be in July, but you've moved it up possibly to June. So it's certainly a good sign. Again, anybody, this is an AMA. We have a lot of people in here. If anybody wants to come up, go ahead and request to be a speaker. In the meantime, what were your lessons learned from the Terra situation? And is there anything that's applicable to the Hedera ecosystem, Gautam?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, right? So, I mean, there were lessons learned in terms of, proper treasury management, etc. We probably did 80% of that very well. We could have done a little bit better, reacted a little bit faster, but that's minor. In terms of our own contracts and the implementation, I think that wasn't the reason. It's also, let's take a step back and understand that the collapse or the reason for it was a very sort of esoteric relationship between UST and Luna, and the whole ecosystem was kind of built around that relationship, right? So I don't see that being like a systemic risk across multiple networks, because that was very, very specific to Terra Luna. In terms of our own thesis, nothing much has changed. We were always going to be multi-chain. We were already multi-chain when this happened. It was just that the timing of it seems like we lost a lot of TVL. But say if this would have happened like 6 months down the line, you would have seen a very smaller percentage impact. But like I said, we're committed to building on all of these networks, and not just one solution, right? Multiple solutions, and that's why we have kind of ring-fenced the teams to make sure that each business line or each network is given due importance, and we have real experts building on these networks.
All right, good to hear, Gautam. HBAR Hub, go ahead and ask your question.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I had a question regarding maybe a version 3.0. I don't know if we're talking about 2.0, but I've heard there's a lot of things we could do with DeFi.
Yep.
One of which is liquidity pools. I don't know. I thought I had seen Luna X previously before it went down. But I know that Saucer Swap is probably trying to get in there too. So how much are you cooperating with the HBAR Foundation and Saucer Swap with all this stuff? And are you letting them focus on that, or are you working on your own solutions like that too? And I'm also interested in DeFi lending, kind of like a decentralized Celsius if possible, but I don't know if that's what you're going to focus on or not. Thanks.
Yeah, no, thanks for your question. Really interesting stuff, right? So just right off the bat, liquidity pools are very important, right? So we are in discussion with Saucer Swap as well as HSuite, right, for their upcoming DEXs. And, we want to be one of the first pools to launch whenever they launch. Our approach has always been in other networks as well as in Hedera is that, we are very focused on staking. Right, so we will not go ahead and build a DEX, even if it was like profitable or something. But our focus really is on growing the ecosystem by making staking as good as it can be on the network, right? So we will partner rather than compete with the DEXs that are coming online, and our endeavor will be to have HBARX and HBAR pool on each of them with decent liquidity so that people can trade without too much slippage. We will also look at other pools, including a stable coin like HBARX and HUSDC, and even other sort of protocol coins or switches that or wrap tokens that people might be interested in. Right, so definitely going to partner with DEXs. Coming to the money market kind of question, again, look, we are actively sort of talking to folks we know who are building some of these things to sort of look at the Hedera network. I think this is one of the things that if folks out there can build on Hedera will add a lot of value. Again, our approach will be to make sure that our token is useful as collateral on these money markets, right, and can be borrowed from these money markets. But we would probably not go ahead and build it ourselves because, again, we want to be focused on staking and we want to sort of move the needle forward there and make sure that we are collaborative enough and sort of queued in enough to help other developers bring their solutions to kind of basically spread and decentralize the DeFi ecosystem as well, right? So you don't want one protocol or one set of developers developing everything for your DeFi network. That's also not super healthy.
All right.
Yeah, sounds like a good way to make an anti-fragile system, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for the question, HBAR. Tom Johnson, come on up.
Hey, Adam. I was going to ask about the mobile side of things. Could you speak about, are you guys going to be able to do that, or is it dependent upon Hashpack, and is there any timeline on when that's going to happen? Thanks.
Yeah, great question, Tom. I think there's something that we are actively looking at for, what do we do after V2 on the tech side, right? So there is mobile, there's also deeper integration with other wallets, right? There is also Ledger that we're talking to specifically and trying to see where we can, how we can sort of increase distribution. Unfortunately, I don't have a clear-cut answer yet on what it'll take for mobile support to be there, but that's something that we want to do after V2 for sure. It's a question of right now we are in the tech assessment phase, and then we'll probably put it on our release plan and be hopefully in 3 or 4 weeks time I'll be more useful in answering this with a broad timeline. But mobile support is something that we will definitely look to provide. Whatever it takes in terms of us changing something or we partnering with the wallet partners to do something. But the aim is that once V2 is out, we have a very stable product. Now we look at, hey, how can we just make sure that the distribution is there in terms of wallets, in terms of mobile support, in terms of having an APK so that somebody else can also integrate integrate staking into their dApp without the user having to leave that dApp, right? So we'll provide that as well to developers because ultimately we want the solution to be as useful as possible. So if somebody wants to build a solution where you can stake without leaving their dApp, we are happy to sort of integrate at the back end as well. So yeah, those are the 2 or 3 things we'll be working on. Unfortunately, I don't have a timeline yet.
That's good. Perfect. Good. Sounds like a good plan. Thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Tom. Yasin, come on up.
Yes, guys. Good morning. Very simple question. Sorry if it's too basic, but just kind of would like to get it clarified. When you stake HBAR to get HBARX, is there a locking period where you don't have access to your HBAR? And if so, what is that locking period? If I want to go back from HBARX to HBAR, if I want to withdraw, how many days do I have?
Yeah, cool. So let me sort of clarify a couple of things, right? So right now, because there is only V1 that's live in production, so whatever HBAR you stake right now is locked in till V2 launches. So let me then talk about after V2 launches what the situation will be, right? So after V2 launches, you can stake and unstake your HBAR immediately. Nobody's stopping you. It's not very profitable because you'll get the same exchange rate, and why would you do that? But there is, like, technically there will be no limit. Now, between unstake and the ability for you to withdraw the HBAR into your wallet, there will be a cooling off period, right? Now that cooling off period will be, single digit days. We're debating between 5 to 7, right? And one of the things that I'll sort of take a step back and try and explain is why this unlocking period needs to be there, right? So if you go back to looking at the objective of staking in any network, right? It's to of course, secure the network, and ultimately all of this staking money will go to nodes, which will process transactions, and the rewards will flow from there, right? But it's also to reward long-term token holders, right? So we do not want to incentivize behavior, which is like, hey, I'll stake just before the epoch, the rewards are added, and then I'll unstake and withdraw just after the epochs are done, right? So there has to be a cooling off period to sort of disincentivize that kind of behavior, right? And B, we also want to incentivize usage of DEXs and other partners to have instant liquidity, right? And hence there will be a cooling off period if you want to withdraw directly from Stader. But if you want to see use one of our LP pools, that's great. You can convert from HBARX to HBAR directly from that LP pool, and that option will kind of come online as soon as the DEXs come online. Broadly, this time between the unstake and the withdraw will be aligned with whatever is the epoch time that is decided in HIP 406 when we integrate with protocol staking, right? So right now, whatever we decide, 5 days or 7 days, it's not always going to remain that way, because ultimately this time is decided by the amount of like the epoch interval on which the staking rewards are decided. So if just again to take another step back, if people don't know, HIP 406 is the proposal to introduce protocol staking, right? That the network is working on. We're not involved, but we're kind of closely monitoring it, because ultimately we will integrate with that, right? So if they decide that the epoch time is 48 hours, we will move this time between unstake and withdraw to 48 hours. If they decide it's 10 days, we'll have to move it from 5 days or 7 days to 10 days, right? So it has to be aligned with that. Right now, because we are going first, we'll probably just pick a number between 5 and 7 to achieve some of the objectives that I laid out earlier. I know it was a long answer, but hopefully it answered your question.
Yes, thank you. One last question: what is the reward rate from staking, percent-wise?
Yeah. So that's another interesting question. So when we launched V1, we decided it was very difficult for us to decide a percentage, right? Because a percentage is, think of it like a bond yield, right? So you look at market data, etc. You see your risk, and then you say decide a percentage where the market will clear, right? But on Hedera, we were the first solution to launch, so it's not super easy to decide the percentage. So we said, okay, we will let the market decide the percentage. So what we have is an emission rate, which essentially currently is 668,000 HBAR a day. So that amount of rewards is added to the entire pool. Now, if the pool participation decreases, the percentage for that day will increase. If the pool participation increases, the percentage will decrease. And hence, through this market mechanism, we will arrive at a market clearing rate, right? So right now, the percentage is in the high 40s, but that doesn't mean that it'll remain there, because how the rewards are calculated is that this emission rate is fixed till June 30th, right? And that emission rate plus whatever is being staked kind of combines to make the percentage APY for that day.
I see. Thank you. That's clear. That's all I wanted. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for your questions.
Yasin, there's also a good blog post that Stader put out that explains the current returns that you can check out. We'll try to tag that. All right. So again, anybody wants to come up with questions, you're more than welcome. Just request to be a speaker. In the meantime, Gautam, you mentioned the utility of HBARX, and we have Hedera Hackathon 22 going on. Have there been any inquiries from the teams working in the Hedera Hackathon 22 about HBARX?
Yeah, so I think people have been monitoring it. No direct inquiries as yet. I think the timing didn't quite fit with us because we were really heads down in trying to get V1 and V2 out of the market. But essentially, going forward, we do have plans to sort of sponsor other folks as well to kind of come in and build on top of HBARX. Currently, we are, like I said, we are talking to the DEXs that are building, and we want to be there as soon as they go live. Right. Of course, there are a couple of things that we need in terms of basic checks like audits, etc., that we do on our own as well. Right. And the money marketplace is another thing that we can actually incentivize people to build on, because that's another key piece of DeFi infrastructure that HBARX can be used on. Away from that, we're talking to some of the NFT platforms on the network to kind of have HBARX directly accepted for NFT payments, right? And we're also kind of talking about what other platforms. Essentially, what we want is HBARX to be used as pretty much the network's currency. Because if you look at it, right, if it's the same risk that you're taking from an exposure point of view, if you hold HBAR or HBARX is just, HBAR plus yield every day, right? So why would you not just use HBARX? So it's up to us to kind of make sure that it's widely distributed, that it's widely accepted, that we essentially want to be like a very, very boring, clear-cut currency that is safe and secure to use, right? And I think that will add most value to the DeFi ecosystem, and we'll make it as fungible and as integrated into whatever comes on board as possible.
Yeah, it's a good goal for sure. Morty, do you want to ask your question?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So I think it's common knowledge that Hedera is sponsoring the emission rate that is set on a daily basis. What plans have you guys got to help the ecosystem to be self-sustaining? Because at the cost of the token, transaction cost, it's so small. You need obviously an extensive use case on the network to help this to become self-sustaining.
Yep.
What plans have you got in place? Obviously, the DEXs are going to be coming on board now as well, which is exciting and well overdue. But will the foundation continue to actually sponsor the emission rates, or the way that I see it, if this is not going to happen, then the APY is going to be significantly reduced?
Yeah. Cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. So let me kind of take a step back and present the broader vision for staking on Hedera, right? That both us and the foundation are sort of trying to build in conjunction with the network itself, right? So think of staking as being having two sides: the demand side and the supply side. The demand side being the thing that we are building. Essentially, people stake, and that that goes into a smart contract, and that smart contracts gets the rewards and distributes back to the stakers, right? So what HIP 406 and the network is building is the supply side, which is essentially making sure that the infrastructure is ready for that staked amount to be allocated to nodes, and then the nodes generating the transactions and the transaction fee flowing back to the stakers, right? Now, the second point that you mentioned was currently the transactions are not enough to probably support, even high, double digits kind of APYs, right? Which is right. But there are, I think, multiple things going on to kind of increase the usage of the network, not just on DeFi, but on other things as well. But for staking, all of those transactions will generate staking revenue and transaction fees for nodes, which will get funneled back, right? And specifically on DeFi, it's very interesting because we've seen this in some of the other networks, is that it might seem that it's a small thing that a DEX and a lending protocol comes online. But if you think about it, right, so once, say, a DEX comes online and a lending protocol comes online and people start trading these things, that creates imbalances, and say you have two DEXs, right? And then there are sort of imbalances in between the pools that creates arb opportunities. So and similarly, if you see a difference between the exchange rate that we have set for HBARX versus an exchange rate in a pool because somebody's done a large trade and the pool is out of whack, then essentially there's an arb opportunity again there. So once these building blocks come online, we've seen that the transaction increase is actually exponential. It's not linear because of the fact that every position that somebody takes, right, creates a opportunity for a secondary position or an arb that people can exploit, right? So for every position, there are like 2-3 other transactions that are pretty much open, right? So I wouldn't be very surprised if once we have all these, a couple of these things in place, that the DeFi transaction volume actually explodes on the network. Right. And of course, there are other things happening to increase transaction volume that will also get routed through all the nodes, right? So I think the transaction volume will increase there. Now coming to the third thing that you raised in your questions, which was, hey, how will this all pan out in terms of the transition there, right? So I think broadly, all of us, in terms of like us who are building the solution, the foundation, right, and the community, we are all aligned that ultimately the APY will drop, but it has to be a smooth drop. It cannot be like a step drop or something like that, right? And basically, in conjunction with the foundation, we are working on the numbers for next quarter, right? And also looking at when HIP 406 will be live. So you'll see announcements in the coming weeks on that. But the idea would be that, right now the APYs are in the high 40s. Of course, all of us know that if adoption increases, that's not going to remain that way. But the idea would be that, we've done the hard work in terms of getting the engine started. So we won't let this go just for, the fact that because, once this engine has started, the right way forward is to kind of quickly integrate this with the protocol staking layer to make it self-sustaining. But there'll be an interim plan that sort of bridges us to that whenever that happens. Hope I'm answering your questions, but like the short answer is that there'll be a bridging plan, and we're working on that, and you'll see numbers announced in the coming weeks.
Thanks, Gautam. So, I think you raised an extremely important point there, that you guys are obviously tackling the supply aspect of it. Now, there needs to be a demand aspect. And I remember reading quite recently, I think that HBAR Suite has now gone and delayed their launch because the Hedera network is not able to actually accommodate them and provide what it is that they need to happen. So that immediately takes away significant demand. So obviously in your business plan, you guys have got an outline as to when you would assume that the supply equals the demand. Now, are we looking at 6, 12 months, 18 months? This is enterprise at the end of the day, and we all know that enterprise takes a lot longer than rolling out something smaller.
Yeah. Look, fair enough. I think I'm not super aware of the H Suite conversation, so apologize for that. I'll probably go back and read it myself on exactly what they found missing. As far as we know on protocol staking, yeah, it's delayed a little bit, but not by 6 or 8 months. So we still expect that sometime this year it will be live, right? And we will kind of integrate with that. But like I said, right, I think all parties concerned recognize the fact that, hey, we have started an engine here, right? And it would be detrimental to kind of let this go and start from scratch again whenever the protocol staking is live. So I think there is broad agreement that we will make sure that the community which is on HBARX is sort of incentivized and keeps on running, and we have use cases till we are able to kind of make this self-sustaining whenever that possibility comes online. But hopefully that will be sometime this year.
Thank you. I appreciate your answers and really appreciate what you guys are doing for the ecosystem as well. So thank you.
No, it's our pleasure.
Thanks for the question, Morty. So until we get some more questions up here, and again, you can just request to be a speaker if you want to ask a question. We feel horrible about what happened in the Terra Luna ecosystem. We've already talked about it a fair amount. But one thing I wanted to ask, because it's been brought up, is what would you suggest for Terra Luna developers? You guys being developers yourselves, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, sure. Let me maybe kind of answer it from our perspective first, and then I'll go on to the suggestion. Look, I think all said and done, like I said, it was a sort of esoteric issue with the Terra Luna ecosystem and how it was kind of designed, but that's not taking away anything from the community of builders that was building on that ecosystem. I think that was really, really good, including ourselves. So we are actively also looking to support V2 of that ecosystem, and we'll kind of port over our solution as well, right? But we as a protocol sort of believed in a multi-chain future right at the start, and we hence were taking steps already to kind of diversify that. And I think you'll see a lot of protocols also doing that now. And that would essentially, those are the kind of conversations we're having with folks that we know on the Terra side as well, right? And, one of the principal things that we are kind of telling them is to have a very, very good look at the Hedera network, because our experience has been great here. Especially, of course, there's the technology angle of it and how you can build. But I think the most important one is the community. We have thoroughly enjoyed working with the community. The feedback loop has been great. It's been very, very engaging. Tough questions, but fair questions. Really, I mean, touchwood, it's the community and our sort of working styles have matched quite a lot, because we're pretty straight shooters and we answer things pretty much head on, and the community is also head on and giving us feedback, right? Good, bad, or ugly, right? So those things have matched. So we're definitely asking our peers to kind of take a look as some of them, I think, will definitely look to diversify across different L1s.
All right, good stuff. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up is Blade Wallet integration. So of course you can, any wallet that supports HTS tokens, you can go ahead and put those tokens, associate those tokens to any of those wallets, and you can transfer HBARX. But as far as mobile wallets that you can initiate staking from, there's only one right now, and that's Blade Wallet. And I believe that's only Android right now. And the question we got was, when are they going to support iOS integration, Apple integration? I'm not sure if you'll know this one, Gadam, but I just want to see if you had an answer.
Unfortunately, I don't. I don't know their timelines. So, but we are working very closely with the Blade folks. We just to kind of bring everyone up to speed. It's in the final stages of testing. And in fact, some of you which are part of beta for V2 have the option to stake and use the Blade wallet in that beta environment. But we'll soon be live on the main production environment as well. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't know about their plans on iOS. Yeah.
No worries, no worries. HBAR Hub, you have another question?
Yeah, this one's about fees. I know for some reason I recall you saying something about a 10% fee. Maybe I didn't hear that correctly in a past session or whatever, but I was curious what that 10% is of, and then, like, for instance, if HBAR Foundation is giving 50 million HBARs, you're getting 5 of those, or if I heard that wrong in the first place. And then also, would you guys consider dropping the fees lower once more competition comes in, that sort of thing? Yeah, I guess I'm considering that from like an HBAR holder who could stake myself. And I know in a past session you said that the advantage for you guys is you can spread out to where it's needed. So I'm aware of that advantage that you guys have, but also considering everything. So again, yeah, is it 10%, and 10% of what? And would you consider lowering them once more staking protocols are out?
Sure. So, like, yeah, it is 10% of rewards. So your math was right in terms of 50 and 5, right? So it goes from kind of the reward pool. Now, it's probably important to kind of take a step back and see what it's used for. Like I said right at the start, our businesses, both from a financial perspective, like each business line from a financial perspective and from a team perspective, is pretty ring fenced. But yeah, there is initial investments that we made, and some of that gets goes back to our treasury. But a lot, pretty much all of it right now, goes to kind of paying for the people who kind of work on the solution, which includes people like me who do all the talking, but also people who design the UI, people who are kind of developing the UI, developing the smart contracts, developing the marketing material, the content, handling the Twitter stuff, right? So there's probably 15 odd people kind of involved specifically for HBAR, right? Which probably go unnoticed and go behind the scenes. Having said that, the fixed cost reduces over time as the solution expands. So we'll have more sort of margin, so to speak, if we keep the fee the same, right? Now, we prefer to kind of give back the fee in a different way rather than reducing it. So I would much rather incentivize users to, say, participate in a liquidity pool by giving incentives in HBAR from our fee sort of treasury, rather than just give a flat fee discount, right? So we have some plans there to maybe incentivize people a certain type of behavior which helps the ecosystem broadly, and all of that will be kind of funded by the fee that we have, right? Plus, I think there is obviously, I don't want to jump the gun, but we will be soon announcing a few sort of things which incentivize content creators, incentivize folks to kind of build the ecosystem, and we'll have like a proper HBAR link prices, like X amount of HBAR to whoever does this, or something like that, and all of that will be again funded by the fee, right? So ultimately the effect will be lower sort of money that we keep for ourselves, because we, as time passes, we recoup most of our fixed cost. But my inclination, and I'm happy to hear folks' sort of opinion on this, is instead of reducing the fee, to increase the giveaways, to incentivize certain amount of behavior, which increases the overall ecosystem and DeFi adoption increasing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sounds pretty fun. There are a few things I hadn't thought of before, and yeah, I definitely appreciate all the work you're going into. Pretty benefited quite a bit from it, and really grateful for what you guys are doing, and look forward to seeing what those incentivizations are.
Yeah, we'll announce them soon.
Thanks.
All right. So Morty mentioned HBAR Suite, and I just talked to that crew last week, and they seemed really excited. I'm not sure what they're waiting on right now. It may just be a specific HIP that they want to make sure they integrate into their platform. But Gautam, the question I have is, how has the technical support been from Hedera and Swirlds Labs when you do have technical issues as far as integration? How's it been working with them?
Yeah, so actually it's been great because we've had very, very responsive and a very, very responsive experience whenever we've had technical questions or technical issues, or just want to bounce off architectural idea with someone, right? So we work very closely with Viv from the HBAR Foundation and Greg from the Hedera network. And they're pretty much aware. They're like our sounding boards for architectural decisions. What functions we are using. They also help us think through some of the issues that we are having on the technical side. So our experience has been great in terms of kind of having access to real experts in getting these technical issues solved in a responsive manner and sort of going ahead. So I think till now it's been a very positive experience.
All right, sounds good. So again, this is going to be the last call for anybody that has any questions to come on up, request to be a speaker, and we'll bring you up. In the meantime, I did want to mention that if you do have any questions that you want to ask directly from Stator, you can join their Telegram group. They're really responsive there. You can also, if you have any questions for the HBAR Foundation, you can join our official Telegram group. We're going to start to have office hours where our leadership is going to come in there and be able to answer some questions. And we're going to continue to do AMAs on Twitter Spaces as well if you have any questions. So I don't see anybody coming up with any final questions. So Gautam, I'd like to give you the last word here. Is there anything else you'd like to pass on to the community before we let you go?
Yeah, thanks for that, Brandon. So, first of all,
Gautam, we do have two more questions, so I might as well bring those up, and then I'll give you the final word here in a little bit.
Absolutely.
All right. HBAR Fish, come on up.
Yeah, sorry if I'm late to the party here, but you may have already answered this, but when the unstaking period starts on Stator, what is the APR going to be, or APY going to be, or how's that going to work?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch the first part of your question. Could you do you mind?
When the unstaking period starts, what is going to happen to the APY, or how are you going to handle the rewards on Stator?
Yeah, sure. So between the unstake and the withdraw period, there is no rewards that are accrued, right? So when you unstake, you pretty much fix the HBAR, the exchange rate at which you unstake, right? So say you staked very early on, you got a 1:1 exchange rate. Now when you unstake, maybe the exchange rate is 1.05, right? And when by the time you get your so that exchange rate will be fixed. So after 5 or 7 days, when you withdraw, you will get the exchange rate of 1.05, right? The exchange rate might have moved a little bit during those 5 or 7 days. But that will not be kind of accrued.
Or what if we don't withdraw? What if we keep it in there? Will we keep earning
Sorry?
rewards, or are the rewards over after that? And what happens if we keep the HBAR in there and don't unstake? Is there additional rewards after this period is over?
Yeah. So see, this is only for people who unstake. So if you don't do anything, then your HBARX kind of keeps on accruing value every day, right? And that will keep on continuing. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for the question. Issues of life. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I joined a little late as well, and you may have already answered this. Are we still on track for July of the unstaking version 2?
We're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. So we are looking at June, sometime in June, if all goes well. Just to give you an update, the solution is already in beta test mode, and it's already being audited. So all of these things should be knocked off in May. So depending on the test results and the audit results, we might have to do some changes or hopefully not. So depending on that, we're very confident that we'll be able to launch sometime in June. So we're a little ahead of schedule.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Gautam. We'll go ahead and we'll close it down to questions. And again, I'll let you have the last word here.
Cool. Thanks for that, Brandon. So, first of all, thanks everyone for showing up and listening to us. I think, again, can't thank the community enough for all of your support. It really kind of gets us going each morning, and is really an honor to kind of build for such a responsive and engaged community. We'll be putting out more and more information in terms of blogs, the mathematics, hopefully over the weekend or early next week on V2. So feel free to kind of look out for that, go through that, and ask any questions that you might have on the channels that Brandon mentioned. We're pretty active on TG, and hopefully we'll do more of these sessions going forward before we launch V2, right? But as last word again, thanks to everyone for helping us build this. Ultimately, we're building with you and for you, and long may that continue.
Gautam, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for everybody who asked their questions, and thank you for everybody that listened in. We'll go ahead and end it there. See you guys later.
Thanks, Brandon. Thank you, everyone.